Hello, I'm Anne Green, and welcome to We've Got Books. And boy, do we ever. We are coming to you from the big sky country of the Dallas-Fort Worth area of Texas, where we're known for our Tex-Mex cuisine, Southern hospitality, and Bluebell ice cream. I am so happy you joined us. I'll be your host for We've Got Books, and I'm excited to connect with you. I delight in telling you about my books, as well as interviewing other Christian fiction writers about their books. My goal is to introduce you to some great Christian fiction, to explore the books, and to have fun doing so. We focus on getting to know authors and discover why we write books. We'll discuss fiction of different genres: suspense, romance, historical, mystery, women's fiction, and humor. Have you ever read a sensational book and wondered about the author? We'll sit around the table chatting to get to know each author and how his book was created. So sit back and enjoy this happy ride into the literary world. Today, I'm interviewing Christian author Paula Peckham. Paula, tell our listeners a little about yourself.
Hi, Anne, Larry. Thank you both for having me on. You've done this for me once before, and it's fun. I appreciate it. I am a fifth generation Texan. I retired from teaching high school math, not English, but math, in 2019, and I have been writing full-time since. I love reading all genres, but I prefer to write romance. I have 3 historical romances published through Elk Lake Publishing, and I have contributions in 3 different anthologies. 2 of them are Christmas collections, and one is a contemporary story around the theme of pivot. The writers just got to choose what they felt like that meant. I also have a short story that leads into my upcoming release in an anthology, my writing group, which is ACFW, DFW, Ready Writers, and we are publishing that this summer. The theme is 1980s music, and each author chose a song from the 80s and structured their story around the lyrics. I'm working on the editing for it now, and it's been really fun. My song/story is a U2 hit, With or Without You.
Well, that book sounds exciting. So tell our listeners, have you chosen a word for this year?
I don't usually choose a word for the year. I can't sit and think about it that long, but this year one's just sort of fell into my lap. My word is adventure, and so far 2026 has lived up to the hype. We've already done some traveling, and we are planning a trip to Alaska this summer, along with building a new house on some land we inherited in Arkansas. So things will really change for me this year. I've lived in Texas all my life, but I'm excited for this new chapter.
Adventure is a great word, and yours sounds exciting. As a fellow Texan, I really hate to see you leave our friendly state, but Arkansas is quite beautiful and not so very far. So I know you'll enjoy your adventure. Speaking of adventure, what book are we discussing today?
Well, I've been working on a contemporary romance for several months. I thought I had it finished and ready to go. Then I sent it to Rachel Hauk for a developmental edit, and I thought I was just sending her a perfect manuscript and I was going to get back, oh, this needs a comma. But no, we had several notes to go over. And so these past few months, I have been going over rewrites, which I wasn't all that excited about at first, but now I can really see how much stronger the story is going to be, and I'm all in. She really made good suggestions. So the title of the book is Still Haven't Found What I'm Looking For, another U2 song, and my goal is to have it out by June.
Rachel is a great Christian writer. June is just around the corner, and I'm looking forward to reading Still Haven't Found What I'm Looking For. An intriguing title. So, How many books have you written?
Well, I have three historical romances. The first one was Protected. The second is a novella that originally was in a Christmas anthology, and it's called A Father's Gift. But my publisher said, send it, we'll do that one too. And then the next one is called Accepted. And each of them are going to be different characters from book one, from Protected. And so, there could be up to six more if I do every single character. I don't think I'll make it that far, but I have three more in mind.
That sounds good. What is Still Haven't Found What I'm Looking For's theme?
I think we would call it second chances and the redemption God offers to each of us.
I do love Second Chances books because God has given me so many second chances. What is Still Having Found What I'm Looking For all about?
Well, the main characters are Derek, who is a 42-year-old rock star who is kind of battling a little bit of a decline in popularity. And then Andy, who is a 39-year-old journalist. And though Derek has reached all his fame and fortune goals, he feels like something is missing. And he wants to use his God-given talent for a higher purpose. Andy has just struggled through her first post-divorce year, and her only daughter is off to college. So she finally has a chance to focus on the young woman she left behind in college and follow her dreams. A chance encounter throws Derek and Andy together, and the story takes off from there.
Of course, we don't really believe in chance encounters. This encounter had to be God directed.
Yes.
Our listeners would love for you to read the back cover of Still Haven't Found What I'm Looking For.
Cool. Okay, I'd love to read that. A conflicted rock star, a journalist at a crossroads, an unlikely pairing of two wildly different worlds. Derek Norton spent the past 2 decades writing songs and performing music with his band, aiming for the #1 charts. Now that he has arrived, fame and fortune are less fulfilling than he expected. Surely, he should spend his God-given talents on something more meaningful. Andy Thompson is rebounding from her ex-husband's adultery. At the same time, she is sending her only child to college. The past year figuratively knocked her to the mat. Soon after she claws her way back to healthy self-esteem, her ex drops a bombshell that takes her breath away. When her boss springs a plum assignment on her, touring with her favorite band and writing an in-depth article, a new avenue opens before her, bringing a chance for promotion and financial freedom. And Derek sees his life through new eyes. Can God bring his prodigals back to his plan for their lives?
Well, that sounds interesting and full of possibilities. Our listeners always like our authors to read an excerpt from their books. Would you?
Okay, sure. This could be Derek Norton's worst day since becoming sober. He scowled at Chaz, the Pony Boy Records producer. The weird looks he'd received walking through the office suddenly made sense. Apparently, the assassins had been the main topic of conversation at the music company's weekly pitch meeting. He had expected to discuss tour plans with Chaz. That expectation evaporated within 15 seconds of sitting down in front of the man's desk. How to end this meeting with his dignity intact? Greg, the band's manager, sat quietly at Derek's side. Chaz leaned back in his leather office chair, the light streaming in through the plate glass windows behind him, surrounding him like a halo. The epitome of false advertising. Look, Derek, I know this isn't easy to hear, but the numbers don't lie. None of your shows on this tour have sold out yet. Derek flinched. Are you calling the assassins a failure? Chaz clicked his pen, an annoying tick. Your words, not mine. We gotta shake this off. Samuel, Chaz's eager assistant, gave a nervous chuckle from his position behind Chaz's shoulder. Ignoring the lackey, Derek directed his gaze instead to his ankle. propped on his knee, picking at the seam of his worn Converse tennis shoe. He bit back an angry retort. He had 26 years of producing hits in his back pocket. His gaze darted to Greg, whose impassive expression gave nothing away. Good thing the guys weren't here with him. They would have erupted by now. Time to face facts. Chaz's impersonal tone pinged a nerve like a guitar string that had been wound too tight. You know as well as I do that record sales have been on a downward slide for a couple of years now. Okay, so maybe sales weren't great. Certainly they've been better. But this doomsday attitude from Chaz rankled. Our fans like what I create. Derek swallowed the defensiveness in his tone and strove for confident geniality. I've been writing music for nearly 3 decades. I'm finally hitting my stride. I have more than an album's worth of new songs, and I want to introduce my favorite ones during the tour. They may be the best I've ever written. I know they'll kick off sales of the new album. I don't need the best you've ever written. I need something fans will download. We're here to produce hit songs people like to listen to. Derek dropped his foot to the floor with a thud. Remember what happened with EMI Records? They turned down Freddie Mercury when he came to them with his latest song. Told him they weren't interested in producing a 6-minute-long operatic dirge, but Freddie knew what he was talking about. So do I. I make good music. Samuel shifted. Bohemian Rhapsody was one of their best, but let's be honest, you're not Freddie Mercury. Derek's gaze flicked to the younger man, then returned to Chaz. He wouldn't grace that with a reply. A muscle in Chaz's jaw flexed. He obviously had more to say. Derek took a deep breath and leaned back against the chair. Whatever the producer had yet to share affected not only him, but the band too. He had to chill out. Where was the balance between knowing the assassin's worth to Ponyboy Records and trying too hard to please? He couldn't afford to let his pride destroy everyone else's livelihood. He shared a silent look with Greg. Thank God he'd come along. Derek let the tension ease from his neck. This was Greg's terrain. Contracts, percentages, damage control. Derek handled the music. Greg handled the rest. He'd know how to take the hit when it came. Chaz lifted his smooth-shaven chin, his gaze direct and cool. It's your job to write great songs. Samuel jumped in, and you do it better than anyone. Your poetic lyrics, your symphonic accompaniments, you're the best. Derek leveled a skeptical gaze at him. Stop blowing smoke. Greg snorted a muted chuckle. Chaz's fist clenched. A spasm of irritation quickly released. He cleared his throat. It is my job to count the pennies, Chaz said. I have to appease the accountants and shareholders. We got to get your sales numbers up. If this next album doesn't do better, then... His words trailed off. Ice froze Derek's gut. The unspoken threat quivered in the air between them. All humor fled. Then what? He demanded. Ponyboy is a business, Derek, not a charity. I can't sign off on albums that... Charity? The word exploded from Derek. The ice in his belly morphed into heat that flashed up his neck. He leaned forward. Gold and platinum assassin records line that wall out there. He jabbed a finger toward the hallway outside Chaz's office. We've more than paid our way. Chaz bowed up, straightening his shoulders and widening his chest. Not good body posture for a negotiation. That's not how business works. You don't get to bank decades-old goodwill against today's expenses. Decades? We aren't geriatrics who need walkers to get on stage. Derek flopped back in the chair. Unbelievable. Greg shifted forward. Chaz, if you're that unhappy with the assassin's performance, perhaps it's time for us to seek a new producer. I'm sure there are other companies that would be happy to take on the band. Yeah, Derek mentally cheered Greg on. Look, it's not going to come to that. Chaz spread his hands wide in a gesture probably meant to be conciliatory, but which came across as patronizing. I have a plan. Derek narrowed his eyes. Finally, let the shoe drop already. A friend of mine works at American Sound. He owes me a favor, Chaz said. He's agreed to do a feature story on y'all.
Wow, that sounds like a great hook to leave our listeners wanting more. Do you have anything else you'd like to share with our listeners? Do you have a newsletter, a webpage?
I do have a newsletter. I send it out about like once a quarter. So I won't clog your inbox, that's for sure. But it connects back to my blog on my website, which is simply paulapeckham.com. And all of my other books are available on Amazon.
Well, those sound like good places for listeners to go. Once again, our time has zoomed by. We hope you've enjoyed your time with Paula Peckham and me as much as we enjoyed having you. Join me next week when we interview well-known Christian author Betty Boswell and her romantic suspense, Hidden Names. Listeners, we're so glad you joined us. Don't forget to go to buzzsprout.com, buzzsprout.com, to We've Got Books, and enjoy some of our 50 other podcasts with different authors. You can also find our podcasts on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, or your favorite podcast host. Or you can go to my website, AnneGreenAuthor.com. That's ANNEGREENE author.com, and click on the podcast tab. All our podcasts are short, fun, and introduce you to authors and books. I'm Anne Green saying goodbye for now, and read a good book. We hope you'll choose one of our fabulous books from We've Got Books. See you next time. But in the meantime, keep exploring the world through reading. Reading reduces stress, sparks new ideas and interests, and improves your vocabulary. So keep reading.